Access to Democracy is made possible by donations from the following organizations. Thomson Reuters, a global company with expertise and insight to unravel complex situations in the areas of law, tax, compliance, government, and media. Their worldwide network of journalists and editors keep customers up to speed on relevant global events. Thomson Reuters, the answer company. The division championship Minnesota Twins are looking to go all the way to the World Series in 2024. Bolstered by inspirational shortstop Carlos Correa, a healthy Brian Buxton, and rookie phenom Royce Lewis, plus a pitching staff led by Pablo Lopez and an outstanding bullpen featuring Johan Duran, the Twins are the best bargain in the major leagues, and Target Field is the best venue in baseball. Sheridan Dulas & Kins, PA, a family and criminal defense law firm, has been serving clients in Dakota County and throughout Minnesota for over 40 years. Ranked a Tier 1 Best Law Firm by U.S. News and World Report every year since 2009, Sheridan Dulas & Kins are here to help you in your most difficult life circumstances. Established in 2007, 45th Parallel Spirits was among the first 50 micro-distilleries in the United States. Based in New Richmond, Wisconsin, all aspects of production occur at our facility. If you're interested in visiting and learning more about the 45th Parallel Distillery, please check our website and plan a visit to tour our facility and taste our spirits. Truestone Financial, with locations in Minnesota and Wisconsin, has proudly served its members since 1939. Truestone engages, educates, and supports its members to ensure they have the tools to empower their financial well-being. Truestone Financial, your neighborhood credit union. Learn more at truestone.org.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Access to Democracy. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Bill Raker. You know, here at Access to Democracy, we're proud to say that for 26 years, we've continuously brought interesting guests onto the program to share with us stories and perspectives and insights on what their lives have meant to them. And it's always been exciting to have guests do that. Today on Access to Democracy, we're welcoming back Mayor Elizabeth Kautz from Burnsville. And I say welcome back, Mayor Kautz, because you've been a guest on the program some time ago, and it's a pleasure to have you back with us today.
Well, thank you for the invitation. I'm pleased to be back and to see you and to have a conversation. Thank you.
Well, Mayor, you know, we're titling our conversation today, Celebrating 30 Years of Public Service. Not many people get to do that. And we're just so anxious to have you share with us how you got interested, why you got interested, the many things that you've been able to experience during that 30 years, and some of the highlights, achievements, and recognitions that you've had. So let's kind of just jump into it, right?
Yes. Well, thank you. It's 30 years as mayor and 2 years in the city council, so 32 years of public service.
32 years?
Yes. Yes.
That's even more impressive.
So it's been a wonderful journey and a great learning experience along the way. And for me, the most important and valuable experience has been the connections with the people and what we have been able to accomplish in those 32 years. And most importantly, the 30 years of my term as mayor.
You know, it is remarkable, Mayor, that someone gets to serve 30 years as the mayor of a city. So that's quite an accomplishment. How did you decide to get involved in public service?
You know, that's a good question because I never had any aspirations to be in public service. Prior to that, I was one of the first women in the Catholic Church that became a pastoral minister, a professional minister without ordination, and this was after the Second Vatican Council. So that ages me. And then after I had completed that work where I thought that I had done what I was called to do, I had always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I did that. So had a business, and it was called Growth Dynamics, and it was mental health, organizational development, and employee assistance. So, and it was in Burnsville, and it was a gateway, and there was Diamond Head Mall in that area, and I used to pass it on my way home or going to work. And it was a couple of times on my way to a Burnsville Chamber of Commerce board meeting. I was on the board, and I kept seeing this shopping center becoming emptied out, blighted, graffiti. And I would lament, isn't anybody doing anything about revisioning the city and doing something about this area? And nobody would say anything.
So this is the Diamond Head area, not the current Burnsville Mall, which...
No, the Diamond Head.
Right, okay.
Yeah, because Gateway is in that area.
Wanted to make sure our viewers understood the difference.
Yes, the difference. It's on the north side rather than on the south side where the Burnsville Mall is. So anyway, it was, I think, a second time I was lamenting as I was getting settled into a board meeting. And two of the gentlemen on the board said to me, Elizabeth, if you don't like it, do something about it. I thought, they're right. If I didn't like it, then I should do something about it. And that's how it all started. So I got on a city council, and I served for 2 years. And then Mayor McElroy decided to run for the House of Representatives, and was after one of our meetings, and we went for an adult beverage, and he said to me, why don't you run for mayor? And I said, I'm the rookie. And he says, but you have the leadership skills. He says, well, let me think about it and talk to David, my late husband. And so the next morning, after the discussion at home, I called him and I said, okay, I'll run. But I know nothing about what to do with all of this, how to run and all of that. So I did what I know what to do, was I convened business people, because that was my group of friends. And they were in marketing, and people from Skyline Displays, 3M, and they were in marketing and sales, and they're the ones who put the first campaign together, chose the colors, worked with me on scripts and messaging, because they were the professionals in that field, and did all of the art literature simply because they knew what they were doing. And we won. I had 2 opponents, and here I am 30 years later continuing to do the work. But it is about collaboration and working with people and knowing where people's strengths are and calling them forward and allowing them to do what they do best.
So that was the first election victory, and there were many successive ones that followed that.
Yes.
Okay. So that's how you got in.
That's how I got in, and had an opponent in every one of those except for 1 year. But yeah, and yes, so it's a lot of hard work when you're campaigning. But if you believe in what you're doing and you care about the work that you're doing, then all of that hard work, the door knocking, the walking, and I mean, always lost weight when I was campaigning because of all of the walking. And I've got to know the city so well because I was walking all the different neighborhoods.
Sure. That's a really important part of working a campaign, isn't it? Getting out and meeting the people, meeting them where they are.
That's right.
So you can understand a little bit more about their perspective. So you developed and exercised your leadership skills, and you applied them and continued to lead the city through some interesting, challenging, and rewarding times.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So among those, interesting, challenging, and rewarding times. What would you like to share with us?
You know, I think one of the major things and successes that I'm most proud of is when I was in my first term and we had Partnerships for Tomorrow where we convened the community to do a revisioning for the city. And over 2,000 people took part in that process and stayed with it because it's a long process. And out of that process, it was the people who also identified the success factors that will get us to where we want to be. Because the question was, what do you want Burnsville to look like 10, 15, 20 years from now? And that process brought people together. And then everybody, you know, when you're going through and there's so much information, we trained 100 focus group leaders to go out into the community, and 5 questions they asked everyone, and so all of that information came back. And then these folks came together then, and they were all given dots, and to look at everything that people around the city had shared with them about what they want Burnsville to look like 10, 15, and 20 years. And out of that came our success factors, which were public safety, always was the biggest thing. Our youth, their voices are important today and for tomorrow. And our neighborhoods, they need to be vibrant. They need to be places where people can raise their children. And then development and redevelopment. And transportation and the environment. And then myself and council members said there are 2 more success factors we need to put in place. And that is financial management and service delivery. And we brought that to the people, everything before it went to the city council for adoption. They approved of all of that, and then when it came, it got passed unanimously, and that's how our budgets were then designed. One of the things in that financial management that I wanted to make sure we had a focus and an intentionality was that we were at a AA bond rating, and I said one of the things that we need to move towards is a AAA bond rating. And in 2005, we achieved a AAA bond rating. So we went from AA to AA+. But because we had a good plan and strategically understanding how we're going to get there, because we put the success factors up, and then staff were to put in place the strategies and outcome that continues to move the needle to the achievement of those plans. And we work very closely. One of the other things was to work closely with the rating agencies and to understand the critical items that they look at and evaluate how we can move forward.
So Mayor, to me, when I listened to you explain the process that you went through and how the division was developed, and how leadership came into play to, you know, set the goals, set the priorities, and move through it. It sounds to me like you're giving a class or you're giving some insight and information to local government officials on how to run a growing, thriving, successful city. Would you say so?
Well, I hope so. This works for me in the private sector, and it works for me in what we do in government, because I see myself not as a politician, but as a steward. The people voted for me to be a steward of their assets, of their trust. That means the whole city, the assets of the community, and all of that. So when I take that very personally, and because it's a big responsibility to think about what it is that I and elected officials need to do. It's not about political wins or losses. It's about what are we doing for the people who voted us into office and this city. Because one of the things is that we need to continue to make sure that the market value of the city goes up. Because if we want to get to AAA bond rating, your market value has to increase as well. So you have to do all of those things and be very intentional about how you're thinking about all of that.
And so I'm hearing embedded in this, things like ethics, accountability,
yes,
authenticity, transparency.
Yes.
Okay, so those are some critical attributes or qualities that a real leader has and demonstrates, whether they're in a local government leadership role or in someplace else. Yeah. So you've developed and used those very well.
It's very important, I believe, for us to have all of that. Transparency. One of the things that we also did was to make sure that our meetings were all televised. And that came later because we had, if you remember, I believe you were on our telecommunications commission.
Yeah, I was.
Yes, yes.
The Joint Telecommunications Commission, Burnsville and Egan.
Yes. And during that time, we were trying to get to where we can televise all of our meetings, and then subsequently we were able to do that. And because transparency is important, and at the end, accountability to the people. So if we're transparent, they know that we're being held accountable for the things that we're doing. It's important because I think that's how you build trust. That's how you build a community that stands together. We will never agree on everything. But if they see that we're moving in a direction that improves their quality of life and improves the market value of the city and its viability and vibrancy, then whether they agree or disagree, they're going to say, it's a good city to live in.
And hopefully it will continue to be because of the foundations that you've built there. So Mayor, you've had the opportunity to participate and contribute, not just in Burnsville, but in the state, in the nation, and internationally. Share with our viewers some of those wonderful opportunities that you've had to kind of brush elbows with some people around the world.
Thank you very much for that question. But before I answer that, I just want you to know that there were two major things that I think that kickstart a lot of our movement to AAA was County Road 42. Back then, we didn't have a lot of industry. And if you remember where the credit union is, that was all farmland.
The pumpkin farm.
Yes. And then on County Road 42, from County Road 5 to the border of Savage, that also didn't have a lot. So it was the development of that industrial district really brought in a lot of companies and jobs for our people. And then redeveloping all of the other areas like Highway 13 where farms and all of that. And new businesses coming into Burnsville and more jobs. And then the redevelopment of the heart of the city and the Central Park, the Nicollet Commons Park, and the Ames Center, and public art around. So all of these things are things that helped also set up. So on a national level, with the U.S. Conference of Mayors, it is an organization of mayors all across the country. And I was elected by my peers to be the president, the 68th president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Now, it's a small city. I am a small city. Most of the times, the people who are elected to serve as the president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors are from big cities.
You mean like Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, Denver, Miami?
Yes. And so here's small little Burnsville, but for me, it is about when you belong to an organization, and I believe that you believe in this too. If you're going to be part of an organization, you show up, you participate, and you contribute and deliver. And I did that consistently and was recognized by my colleagues. And I was privileged and honored to be elected. And it also was a good thing for the city of Burnsville, because one of my platforms, because it's one of the things that was our success factor, was the environment. People in Burnsville care deeply about the environment and energy efficiency. So one of the platforms that I had with the U.S. Conference of Mayors was the environment. And I took that all over, went to Brussels to meet with the EU to form a collaboration with the mayors of the countries of the EU. Now, they didn't have an organization like ours, so we helped them to create a model. And we did form a memorandum of understanding. They came to the U.S. to our annual meeting in Oklahoma City, and we signed a memorandum of understanding. Then I went back to Brussels and at the EU signed the memorandum of understanding there. And then took that message in Europe and then went to COP13. And the people of the EU were so kind to us, since it was our first foray into COP. This is the Conference of Partners from the UN.
I was going to ask you to explain COP for our viewers.
It's a Conference of Partners of the United Nations. And it was about saving our planet. And so I spoke at that conference, and it was wonderful to have that partnership with the mayors of the EU. And then went to, the conference was in Denmark, and then also went to Sweden and did some of their work, because they were so far ahead with alternative energy and so forth. And then went to China and brought that message that was very different from being in Europe and then going to China to do that. But it allowed me to share Burnsville's story everywhere I went. As president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, I spoke about the platform of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, but at the same time, I would introduce my city and the things that we were doing and to tell our story. So that was wonderful. And then locally, I co-founded the Regional Council of Mayors, where mayors in our region come together and we solve problems, because economic development has no borders. Jobs have no borders. Transportation has no borders. And all of these things we care about together. So how do we solve that? Housing, well, we need housing for people to live in. And so these are some of the issues locally that we have been dealing with and continue to work on together. And I think when mayors come together and they are intentional about the things that we need to do. And it's not about power or anything of that sort. It's about how do we serve our people? How do we solve these very big problems?
How do we make life better for our citizens, right?
Exactly. That's what it's about. And that's what it's about.
So much you have accomplished. And I don't believe you're quite done yet with accomplishments with your career. Is that... Can I surmise that?
Yes. So we're still working. Right now, one of the big projects that we have going on in Burnsville is the expansion of our police and city hall project. We have outgrown our original building, and the site that we're in, it was occupied in the 80s. I think it was 87. And Burnsville has grown since then. When I came into office, Burnsville was about 51,000 people. We're at 65,000 people. We were not built out at that time, and we're fully built out now. I remember when I ran for office, the diversity in Burnsville was 8% minority. We are at 49% minority at this time. So Burnsville has changed in many ways. And so we need to build for the future. And so that's what that's about. And always, public safety is a very important.
Critical.
Very, and it's changed. And so we need to make sure that we have the facility, the tools, and the expertise for the city to be safe. So the building is going to be equipped to house our officers. We're going to have, I believe, 79 sworn officers of a city of 27 square miles. And so a lot of work. And then our fire department. We're an aging community, and we're also a medical destination with a hospital. So our firefighter paramedics are estimated this year to be out on more than 10,000 calls. And right now, I'm so proud of the work that our fire department has done in incorporating whole blood into the treatment protocols when they're out. And already it's made a difference and have saved lives. So that's really important. And our police department, they're continuously looking at tools and software that's going to help them have the tools to do their work. So I'm proud of the work that they're doing as well.
Safety and security is a really big issue in our society today, and it's complex.
Very.
And it sounds like with your leadership, Burnsville is really stepping up and saying, you know, we have a need here.
Yeah.
Let's address it, and let's do it the right way.
Yes.
Mayor, we have about a minute and a half left.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot more we
Yes.
could have you share with us, and
Yeah.
we'll have to pick another time for you to do that. But are there any final words that you'd like to leave with our viewers today?
I would like to say that Burnsville is truly a safe city. We are a vibrant city, boldly leading and welcoming to all. And one of the things that I'm proud of is our police department, because one of the biggest issues is mental health. And we have a behavioral health unit, one of the first departments with a behavioral health unit with an embedded social workers, and we also have an embedded paramedic, so that they can analyze when they go out on a call, and to get a good analysis of the individual.
Well, Mayor Elizabeth, we congratulate you on the legacy that you have built in the 30 years that you've been in public service. And we hope that you have many more years of leadership that you're able and willing to provide for the community. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Bill. And I am just very grateful for the opportunity to spend this time with you. And
thank you for joining us on Access to Democracy.